um, we're trying to make all these different pieces fit. And so that's where I'm in this process of saying, I understand the very visceral reaction out of our citizens. I was here for the P&Z meeting and I heard it and I understand that. But at the same time, I'm looking at everything that we've got to put together here, and somehow it's got to work. And that's the reason why I say, you know, if we can get the quality that we want and ensure that, then I think it's a project that's worth exploring. And let me add this. It's currently zoned, I'm sorry, but it's currently zoned commercial and townhome. We already know that the freeway expansion is coming. I know you've heard that for years and years, but the Texas legislature finally approved a funding mechanism for the highway. They're already buying up right-of-way. We know several properties along there that have already been bought up, so that freeway is coming, folks. And what's going to happen is that the potential is, if the way that the thing is drawn right now, it takes out our Texas landed cattle, it takes out our chilies. We have diligently tried to work with them for 5 years, going back on our EDC, Economic Development Corporation, asking them to please secure land now to relocate. They've not done it. So hopefully they will, but if they don't, those are two businesses that are going away. The freeway is going to be that much closer to this intersection right here. And I look at that and I say, okay, if this project doesn't happen, if it's commercial or townhome, then what I want to, you know, there could be a quick trip on that corner. We know that the person that owns the south of the rave is wanting to develop some restaurants, and it's zoned commercial. That's his right. But so the question then for me becomes, if you've got some restaurants sitting there, you've got the rave that's still going to stay there, what happens on this land right here? And currently, as our zoning stands now, it's commercial. You could have a big restaurant go in there with a large outdoor patio. I have the band behind me every weekend on, you know, Saturday night, or Friday, Saturday nights for Hickory Creek Barbecue. I understand that, and so that's my thought process. Our processes are, if not this, then what? And the potential out there, if I lived in Glenview, would worry me that I might potentially have a quick trip back there. That if I'm thinking crime, I'd rather have a quiet apartment complex like the one I lived in Louisville, rather than something that's going to generate 24-hour day traffic, pulling in, getting gas, jumping back, getting on the freeway. And to me, I think there's a lot more negative potential there. Just my thought process.
Anyone else?
I know our citizens want to speak, so quickly, I mentioned earlier I did contact the city of Carrollton and got passed around to several people before I started getting some answers. My specific question was, can you tell me about the crime and the multifamily? I started out there, and the person stated, it depends which apartment complex you're talking about. So I gave the address, and she said, oh, that's very low. And I said, what's your definition of very low? Can you tell me? And she said, it's very, very low. And I said, as compared to other apartments? And she said, no, as compared to any subdivision in our town, it's very low. So I found that interesting from those comments.
Anyone else before we close this? Okay, let's go ahead and close the business item for the discussion regarding the Humphreys and Partners Architects. Now we're going to move into the workshop, and what we want to do is, raise your hand if you want to have a comment or question that we can discuss openly about this. Make sure that we respect each other as far as the communication back and forth. We've got our town attorney here, we've got Humphreys here. I want to try to answer some of the questions and some of the issues that citizens might or might not have about this complex. Then we'll go back into the regular session, and we'll have the public hearing where you could still go and make a statement. We won't be able to answer that as a council, but we're going to try to answer any kind of questions that you might have through the workshop process. As long as it goes smoothly, we'll keep it open, but if it gets to where the respect is lost, then we're going to have to shut it down and go back into the agenda. So let's respect that. We're all citizens of this town of Hickory Creek, whether we live on the east side or the west side of this subdivision or another subdivision. So let's remember that. So we'll go ahead and go into the workshop. It is 7:43, and if you have a question or a statement, this is the time we want to kind of talk about it. We'll start with Ms. Thompson, which had wanted to speak up first. And if you would, just speak into the mic, state your name and address for the record, and then your statement.
Andrea Thompson, 101 Stamford. I have a couple of questions, is that all right?
Yes, ma'am.
You talked about the trash pickup. Are you going to have dumpsters on the property, or is it going to be door-to-door pickup?
Well, honestly, we have a compactor, which is picked up once a week. We do door-to-door pickup with our staff. So they set it out on their door, we pick it up.
Okay.
And then our staff puts it in the dumpster, in the trash compactor.
Okay. Where are those going to be located at? Are they large, or?
I'm going to refer that one to Kelly.
I have no clue yet. We had to figure that part out. It's not uncommon that the least sensitive areas would probably be definitely nothing back here. Generally, we don't put it around the clubhouse. It's possible we might put something over here on this property line. My goal is to get those big trucks in and out as quickly as I can, not having to drive around too far so they tear up the concrete. So we're trying to mitigate how far they have to drive. But there's opportunities that they can put, well, we wouldn't put it there, but probably either side here, may be a good location, I don't know.
Could be a roll-off.
More than likely, they'll be fenced around.
The next question is about you're checking people's income. When you have roommates, you could have up to 6 people in a 2-bedroom. You've got 6 college students. How does that work? You take the rent and divide it by 6, and if they can afford it?
And I guess if I can interrupt, you can answer that question first, but I just want to make it clear that when the town considers a multifamily zoning case, we can't consider income or who might live there or who might be staying there. So I just want to make it clear that that's not a town inquiry, that this is. Go ahead.
In reality, every person in there has to qualify.
So they have to have.
They cannot be one. Yes, one person cannot pay for half of it and another one pay for the other half. Each one has to qualify.
Okay. And then another thing that the council members keep talking about is that, and you did mention it also, that we have no control of commercial business that would go in there if you don't build. And I don't understand that, because I thought you all had control as to who would build and who you would let build. So when you talk about crime and quick trips and stuff, I look at that as more of a scare tactic. Because I know that we have control as to who is going to go.
Just to explain, if it's zoned commercial.
Thanks, would you speak here so everybody can hear you?
If it's currently zoned commercial, we have a C, I believe C1 and a C2 district. And then if an owner owns land that's in, for example, in a C1, in our zoning ordinance, there's a list of uses that are allowed by right. And we have, if somebody wants to build what we allow by right in the C1 district, they can build that. Now, when they actually comes down to building the building, we have site development, we have site plan requirements, we have certain masonry requirements. And of course, we've adopted standard building codes, so they would have to abide by that. So to that extent, we do have control. But if somebody owns land and it says they can build a convenience store there or a gas station there under the current zoning ordinance, we don't have any means to stop.
Is that in our current zoning?
I'm sorry?
Is that in our current zoning that we have a convenience store, gas station, in Hickory Creek?
I'm not sure what uses are in the C1 district. We've got zoning.
So nobody knows offhand what we're talking about.
I'm sorry.
Nobody knows offhand what we're discussing, so we can just go do it. But we
I'm
don't
saying
know.
whatever's allowed by right in the current district.
Right. When you look at the definitions for the C1 sites.
I've been on the P&Z and the EDC.
you know exactly what it is? Okay. Next question. Yes, sir.
Couple of things, and then I'll just stand and then I'll speak again if the questions aren't asked. But it seems to me that the question is whether or not we want to change this property to apartments from what it currently is. There seems to be a lot of influence here as to this particular project and what it will bring, what it looks like, and that sort of thing. However, what if this doesn't go? It's zoned apartments. So the next guy who comes in and says, oh, well, this is not quite what we had in mind, and we're going to do this. Only our building codes, which are very basic. They're not very restrictive, they're extremely basic. And so all of a sudden, we're approving tonight the possibility of an apartment complex that doesn't even look like it.
That was
But,
you.
but if we can, let's be respectful. Very, very good, very, very good question. This was actually discussed today in looking at what could happen to the town if we approve this tonight. And Lance and I had a discussion just before this meeting on the potential and what could happen. We had some discussion, you know, if it was approved, just like you said, sir, somebody else, they decide that they're going to flip this property and somebody comes in and buys it, they go back to this part of the ordinance in the town and say, well, this is older, and this is all I got to do to get this place in here. So Lance, you want to go ahead and address the rest of that? So
Yeah,
excellent question.
It's essentially the same answer to the last question I had. If somebody has a zoning designation on the property, in this case, assume that this property has a multifamily zoning district, they would go to our zoning ordinance and they have to abide by those standards within that multifamily district, as you stated, sir. And they would have to build according to building codes and whatever site development plans we have. But it's correct that this particular project would not be tied to this specific project as presented
This
tonight.
project is far above the building code.
Yes, sir.
Also, the next one is the tax per year. As I see it, we get even the initial $85,000, I'm going to use their figure, $85,000 and $70,000 versus building permit, which is a 14-month project, which we will spend probably on a inspector 75% of that. So basically, we get $85,000 worth of property value. Just the fact of adding 200 units, 400 to 600 people on the streets, it's $85,000. Is that, you know, where is that going to, is that going to cover all the potholes or the problems or the water main breaks, all the cause of all the influx and additional requirement for this apartment complex? I think we come out on the short end of that. And also, is this, well, I won't ask that question, that's my question until
All right, thank you.
we'll see if any of the
Good
other.
questions and comments. Let's do this side over here. Charles Reed.
John Baker. Council John. I bought land here in Hickory Creek 16, 17 years ago. I've lived in apartments, I've lived in other houses, I've lived in duplexes, and there's nothing wrong with people to live in. But I chose Hickory Creek because I liked what it was. I liked the country, I liked the atmosphere, I liked the people. I don't have anything against apartments, and I understand why they want to put a upper middle, lower class, upper class apartment complex. It's not top of the line, it's not bad. And this town would make a great setting for it, and it would attract the quality of people that they're looking for. But is that who we want here? I want people who have a stake in the community, who live here, who pay taxes, who vote here. I don't want semi-transients. I don't want people here for a year or two before they buy a house someplace else. I want my neighbors to be my neighbors. I want them to have property. I want them to pay taxes. I want them to be concerned who gets elected to city council. I want them to be concerned with the community. That's why I'm here. And I think this is a detriment to the community in that basis. And that's my comments.
Thank you, Charlie. Just give it to you.